Hawaii to the Osage people. This is Chief Standing Bearer of the Osage Nation, and the public health state of emergency I declared on March 19, 2020, is still in effect within our territory. The buildings of the Osage Nation government are closed to the public with minimal staff within and contact instructions posted on the entrances. Telephone and internet access to essential services continues. The Osage Nation schools were closed on March 17, and on March 18, gaming and hotel operations were suspended. We are working with the Osage Nation Gaming Enterprise Board on the lifting of the suspension, if the interest of public safety allows. The suspension requires a major adjustment to the income projections of the Osage casinos and the Osage Nation government. The Director of Operations has issued instructions on which programs are deemed essential and which programs are deemed non-essential. The phone numbers to contact the Osage Nation government offices, our Osage Health Clinic, and the Osage Nation COVID-19 hotline have been posted on social media. I commend all the directors who planned ahead and submitted plans of operation for their departments. The Osage Nation government is open by telephone and internet with minimal staff in the buildings. Decisions have been made to minimize the health risks to constituents, employees, and the general public while keeping Osage Nation essential services available. A hiring freeze is now in effect. Under the plans we have developed, no employee salaries, wages, or benefits are being reduced at this time. All telephone, internet, electricity, water, and other services are being paid for as normal. All financial obligations of the Osage Nation are being met. To do this, we have worked daily with the Treasurer of the Osage Nation, our Controller, the Director of Operations, our Chief of Staff, and key executive staff. Federal program money, which funds part of the Osage Nation, is still being received. The majority of money for employee salaries, wages, and benefits, and all the funding for the Health Fund, Scholarship Fund, and Burial Assistance Program is received from the Osage Tax Commission and the Osage Casinos and Hotels. The casino money is the majority of the funding and is received monthly in an amount agreed to by the Osage Congress and the Osage Gaming Enterprise Board. The Osage Congress makes appropriation laws authorizing spending based on the expected monthly distribution of money from Osage casinos. That monthly distribution is now in jeopardy. The casinos and hotels operate independently of the Osage Nation government, and their plans for their employees may be different than the plans for the employees of the Osage Nation government. However, I have been informed by the chairman of the Osage Nation Gaming Enterprise Board that they are making every effort to take care of their employees as best they can. For the Osage government, we are able to use funds saved from the hiring freeze and apply them to salaries, wages, and benefits of Osage Nation government employees. Savings from the hiring freeze is a combination of unfilled tribally funded positions starting October 1, 2019, and not filling those positions until the end of this fiscal year. There is money within the retained revenue fund remaining from unspent funds from fiscal year 2019. Use of these funds will require Osage Congress action this session. We have prepared proposed legislation on this matter, and I hope the Osage Congress will make this appropriation. The Retained Revenue Fund has enough funds for 2 pay periods for everyone employed in the Osage Nation government. The use of funds from the hiring freeze and the Retained Revenue Fund do not address the funding needs of the Osage Nation Health Fund, our Scholarship Fund, and the Burial Assistance Program. The Osage Casino suspension of operations appears it will continue, and the date of resuming operations is discussed in conversations daily between the Osage Nation Gaming Enterprise Board, the gaming CEO, gaming staff, and me. The Osage Gaming Commission and staff are fully involved in these discussions, as are the attorneys for Osage Gaming. I have had conversation with the chiefs of the Cherokee Nation and the Muskogee Creek Nation as we maintain a cooperative approach to our respective gaming operations. During the period of reduced monthly gaming distribution payments, I recommend the use of other revolving funds, such as the Congressional Building Fund, for use by our Health Fund, Scholarship Fund, and Burial Assistance Fund. This will require Congress action. We must also prepare for use of the permanent fund if the suspension of our gaming operations continues. Fortunately, our credit status is very strong. There have already been moves to secure a reserve, which is awaiting a discussion between the Osage Gaming Enterprise Board, the Osage Congress, and myself. The existing unencumbered balance within the Osage Nation Treasury is $688,000, of which $500,000 must be reserved for the ongoing dispute with Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt on the gaming compacts. This battle continues, with only the time frames extended by approximately 2 months. The threat from the governor is still strong, and we have maintained our opposition efficiently and without new appropriations for legal fees. This situation may change in the next 2 months, and the request for the Osage Nation to be in federal court may suddenly arise. This is despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Another $75,000 for attorney fees and costs for the executive branch is needed because of the actions of the Osage Congress Congressional Affairs Committee and the chair of the Appropriations Committee, who have accused the Osage Nation treasurer and controller of improper accounting practices. This is a real threat to operations of the Osage Nation and is, in my opinion, politically motivated and without foundation. For non-CPAs on the Osage Congress to accuse highly qualified and experienced CPAs, such as our treasurer and controller, of not understanding the law and accounting is absurd, dangerous, and requires rebuttal. The Osage Congress Congressional Affairs Committee has already authorized the Congress to spend $40,000 on outside attorneys for this case. We all know that the majority of this Congress have not had the opportunity to vote down the actions of the Congress minority, but the rules of this Congress have authorized the action by one committee to speak for the entire Congress. Hopefully that rule will change this session. The highly infectious coronavirus disease, known as COVID-19, has spread and increased globally, as indicated by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The World Health Organization has also issued the alarm, as has other public health organizations within the United States. Here at the Osage Nation, the Osage Health Center Pandemic Infectious Disease Patient Clinic Flow Protocols are in full force and effect and may be modified to meet demands as determined by the Chief Medical Officer and the Osage Nation Health Authority Board. As our programs continue in operation, we are able to monitor our essential services to the Osage people. The Osage Nation Health Benefit Card can still be directly used for medical services rendered by physicians, surgeons, dentists, and other medical practitioners. It also may be used for the cost of equipment, supplies, and diagnostic devices. Over-the-counter medications are eligible under our plan. However, the plan requires purchase first, then submission of the receipts for reimbursement. These new procedures were necessary because of a few Osages misusing the card. Those cases have been referred to the Osage Nation Attorney General. Examples of permitted on-site usage include doctor copays, pharmacy prescriptions, insulin, dental care, inhalers, and home medical equipment, diagnostic devices such as glucose monitors or blood pressure cuffs, and vision care. The scholarship program is as strong as ever. As of the last report, over 1,000 scholarships have been awarded since the fall of 2019. Our burial assistance program is also operating as we have projected. I've directed that we move forward on many ongoing projects. Significant work is being done by Bird Creek Farms, now under the direction of our Department of Natural Resources. After meeting with federal officials, our gaming attorneys, and our gaming officials in Washington, D.C., progress has been made on our fee-to-trust application on the lands for our new casinos and hotels at Pawhuska and Bartlesville. The Osage Nation Gaming Enterprise Board is active in our former homelands in the state of Missouri. The effort to achieve recognition of our Osage water rights is coming. We have recently completed repairs to our Osage Heritage Center, where our language department and culture department are housed. Our Osage Museum expansion is making progress with the selection of the professional planners to work with our staff. The old Osage Agency Superintendent's building is undergoing its structural repair. The new Wake and Iron Hall and Pawhuska Village Chapel are now in the design phase with the selection of the architects and engineers. The new Gray Horse Community Building is scheduled to be open and ready to use by the first week of May. Our acquisition of land process for new elderly housing in Fairfax is going forward. Our Osage Nation Ranch is growing and has been working with this administration on emergency plans to provide meat to our people should the meat supplies in the stores become scarce. In summary, the Osage Nation is strong and able to withstand the stresses placed upon us, whether they come from the governor of the state of Oklahoma, this COVID-19 virus, or from negative factions among the Osage. These are all present challenges, and we do not know what new tests we will face. But make no doubt among our people that our strength is in our culture, our lands, and our language, all united in placing the power of God before us. Way with us.